Hello and welcome to the editorial analysis of The Hindu. Today we shall be discussing the editorial of the 23rd of May. So coming to the first article, disclosing dissent. Now the context here is with regards to recording dissenting opinions in the Election Commission of India. Now basically you all know that in the present election scenario, a lot of criticism is what came to the Election Commission of India. A lot of complaints were what were also what were presented to the Election Commission of India vis-a-vis the breach of the Model Code of Conduct. Now what happened in all of these decisions on the breach of the Model Code of Conduct, in approximately 11 such complaints, 5 complaints were such where there was a dissent that did happen. Now basically you should all know that there are 3 members in the Election Commission of India. There are 3 election commissioners. One of them is the Chief Election Commissioners and the other 2 are election commissioners. Now the other 2 election commissioners are in no way subordinate to the Chief Election Commissioner, and largely a decision is taken by complete unanimity or complete agreement between all the 3 members. But if there is a disagreement, then in that case a majority decision is also what is acceptable. Now in 5 of these decisions that were taken by the Election Commission of India, what has happened is that there was a dissent, and these 5 decisions were taken by a ratio of 2:1. Now the Election Commissioner, Mr. Ashok Lavasa, who had dissented, he wanted that his dissent be recorded. It should be noted on the file that he had dissented and what were the arguments that he gave for his dissent. And this was a good opinion. It is being argued that this was what was a positive thing. It should have been done. But the other 2 election commissioners have denied this, and his dissent is what is not being recorded. So that is what is the entire controversy that has been emerging here. And several issues are what are important in this regard. First and foremost, you should know is about the sustained criticism. Now, the sustained criticism against the Election Commission of India is what has come nationally. This is primarily with regards to the clean chit that the Election Commission of India has given to several major leaders, including the Prime Minister as well as the President of BJP, Mr. Amit Shah. Another issue is that there is a lot of delay in decisions vis-a-vis the breach of Model Code of Conduct by leaders, including the Prime Minister. So these are what were the criticisms that the Election Commission of India has faced, despite the several other criticisms that did come its way. So this is what you should know. Another thing is with regards to the recording of dissent. Now basically, the reason that has been stated that why is it important to record the dissent, this is primarily because this would ensure that there is a deepened popular understanding of the issue that was in play. For example, if there was a case of breach of Model Code of Conduct against the Prime Minister, and a dissent was what was given to the clean chit that was issued to him, then obviously another opinion is what has been generated by one of the election commissioners, and this would result in better understanding of the public. And for that matter, these matters are very sensitive, and the entire information is what should be in public domain, because the public is the sovereign in India. It is the public that is deciding upon their leaders, so they have the right to know. So that is what is being argued here. Another thing that is important is the reason given for not including the dissent. Now the reason that has been given is that the recording of dissent is what is limited to quasi-judicial procedures and not in procedures related to violation of the Model Code of Conduct is what has been said, and as a result of which the dissent is what has not been recorded. Now the issue here is with regards to public confidence. Now at this point of time, the Election Commission of India and the public confidence in this body is what is shaken. So if the Election Commission of India would have risen up to the occasion, it would have been open that yes, there was a dissent, it would have recorded this dissent, then the public confidence in this institution would have increased manyfold. You have to understand that dissent is something that is not wrong. Dissent represents that there has been an objective thinking. Every person has had the right to think independently, and he has given an independent decision. This is a democratic country, and in this democracy, it is important that democratic institutions work and function in an open and a transparent way. So this dissent was what should have been respected, and in that case, the Election Commission of India should have definitely considered recording the dissent, but clearly that is what has not happened, and that is what is a major issue. So this is one question that I am expecting in General Studies paper 2. So you should be prepared with this issue, which is very, very important. So that is the relevance of this particular article. Coming to the next article, Eye in the Sky. Now the context here is with regards to the RISAT-2B satellite, which has recently been launched by the ISRO. It was launched on the 22nd of May. So about this particular satellite, you should have some basic ideas. First and foremost, you should know about the benefits that it is offering. The satellite is expected to enhance the India's capability in crop monitoring during the monsoon season, forestry mapping for forest fires and deforestation, flood mapping as part of National Disaster Management Program. So these are some benefits of this particular satellite that are expected. Also, what is important is that this satellite has capabilities of giving images in the case of an overcast sky, which means that if the sky is cloudy, in that case what happens is that many satellites fail to provide images, but that is not what is the case with the RISAT-2B. This will provide imagery even in overcast sky, so India will have better technology. Also, what you should know about this satellite is that it is going to use microwave radiation, which has longer wavelength, therefore it is less susceptible to atmospheric scattering, and it is going to be successful in all seasons and under all environments. Also, it is going to it being not dependent on the visible rays and rather being dependent on the microwaves. This will provide visions for both day as well as for night. Another thing that you should know is that this is what is using X-band synthetic aperture radar as compared to the RISAT-1, which was using a C-band synthetic aperture radar. So these are some technical aspects that I have made a note of, so that wherever you are writing an answer, or if there is a scope of writing an answer, you should provide some details. I personally feel that for scoring more in means, you will have to give some factual details now rather than being completely analytical. Some factual details if you will provide, definitely it will fetch you more marks. Another thing that is very, very important is the fact that these two satellites having been launched, there are 4 more satellites in the pipeline. There is a set of 6 that is planned. So this is what is the ambition of ISRO, and this is what is going to be important. And the benefit of the satellite is both going to be for civil as well as for military surveillance purposes. So that is what is important vis-a-vis the RISAT satellites and RISAT-2B in particular. So that's about this particular article. Coming to the next article, a blueprint for a national security strategy. Now the context of this particular article is that it is advocating that India needs, that in India there is a severe need for a national security strategy. Now the issues that have been discussed here is first and foremost with regards to India's current national security strategy. The editorial is saying that the present national security strategy in India is an ad hoc one, it is temporary, it is based on raw wisdom rather than a written doctrine. So definitely there is a need for a national security strategy is what is being advocated here. Next, the editorial is talking about Lieutenant General D.S. Huda. Now basically what has happened here is that the Congress party had assigned a task to Lieutenant General D.S. Huda to come up with a national security strategy, and he has written this particular strategy, and this is what was a part of the Congress party's manifesto. And this the editorial is discussing. The author here is saying that this was one document that though it was only in a party's manifesto, but this was a very, very important document. It had several important points which the government could extract. So that is why this particular editorial is favoring this particular document. Next, what you need to know here is about the report that was given by, or for that matter, the strategy that was given by Lieutenant General D.S. Huda. Now, basically, in this particular strategy, he has spoken about some key national security institutions. Primary amongst them is the National Security Council, the NSC. He has said that the NSC was what was set up in the year 1998, but the body never meets, and as a result of which this is what is stagnant and it is not performing its functions, is what has been criticized about the NSC. Also by the National Security Advisor, this particular strategy is saying that this National Security Advisor has no legal powers, and also he is not accountable to the Parliament. In the previous times, it was envisaged that the National Security Advisor is going to be a cabinet minister, and so he will be accountable to the Parliament, but that is what is not the case. This is again advocating that more legal powers be given to him and he be made accountable to the Parliament. Also, there has been a defense planning committee which has been formed by the government to look into the upgradation of the armed forces. Now here again the committee is advocating that it is important that this defense planning committee is not given too many responsibilities. At present it is criticizing that this committee is overburdened with a lot of responsibilities and it is only an advisory body. So this is what has been mentioned. Another thing that is important here is the comprehensive treatment of national security, which has been done by this particular strategy. Now this is the most important analysis of this particular article. Now basically you have to understand that whenever we are talking about national security in India, we are only analyzing it from the military perspective. We are only talking about the terrorist attacks that are taking place or some external attacks that is being generated, which is a threat to the national security. And whenever we are talking about the internal security also, we are either talking about Naxalism, and these are the only issues that we discuss. But this strategy took a very, very comprehensive view of national security. It said that discrimination is also a threat to national security. Inequality in the country is a threat to national security. The lack of opportunity is what is a threat to national security. Social unrest is what is a threat to national security. Climate change is what is a threat to national security. Because all of these situations is what is going to result in an outburst from the people, and this in the long run can result in a threat to national security. So this is what I found as the most important analysis of this particular strategy, and you should bring out this kind of an analysis in your answers if ever you have an opportunity. Also, what is important here is with regards to the key recommendations which were given under this particular strategy that was laid down by Lieutenant General D.S. Huda. First and foremost, it is calling for a military jointmanship. That means all the three forces should come together. They should collectively decide as to what are the requirements, and they should work together in harmony. So that is what has been discussed. Also, it is calling for a cultural change in the DRDO so that it is going to increase its capabilities and it can manufacture weapons for India itself. So that is what has been advocated. It is calling for setting up a cyber command. On the Kashmir issue, it is calling for countering radicalization rather than only fighting terrorism. Also, it is calling for a major role of the civil society in ensuring that national security is what is maintained. So that is what this security strategy is advocating. Now basically a question will not come directly as to on this particular strategy which has been made. This is primarily because this was not something that was done by the government but rather by the opposition party. But clearly the ideas are what are good. You could be asked a question that what are the steps required to uphold or to reform India's national security strategy, or what can be done to improve India's national security, and in that kind of a question you can use these points which have been mentioned in this particular report. So that is how you have to use this particular article. The relevance is for the internal security section in general studies mains paper. That is what is the relevance. Coming to the next article, why China changed its stand on Masood Azhar. The context is as obvious. The name of the title itself is saying that China changed its stance on Masood Azhar, resulting in Masood Azhar being listed as a global terrorist, which did take place in the month of April. Now, why has China changed its stand on Masood Azhar is what is being analyzed in this particular article. I have picked it up for discussion because I did not want to leave it out, but otherwise I am doubting that a direct question in this regard will come, but nevertheless we can discuss it. Now coming to the first issue, the reason is US-China tensions. China is at present wary of US, and US is also interfering in Asia just to curb China, and as a result of which China might be afraid, it has been argued in the editorial, that China might be afraid that India will become more closer to the US if China continues to block the listing of Masood Azhar as a global terrorist. In that context, China bowed down and China allowed for his listing. Another issue is the global pressure. Not only US was pressurizing, there was pressure from UK, there was pressure from France. So as a result of which China agreed. The third issue is with regards to the public sentiment in India. The public sentiment in India post Pulwama was very, very high, and as a result of which China did not want to test disturbed waters, you can say that China did not want that the public sentiment in India go very much against China. It is not in China's interest, and as a result of which China agreed. Another issue that is important here is with regards to the China-Pakistan relation. Clearly, this is what has not been impacted because China has already taken the Prime Minister of Pakistan very much in confidence. So in that context, China is believed to be the iron brother of Pakistan, and because the relations were not going to be strained, so China agreed to do so. Now, what is the way ahead? The way ahead is that despite the fact that Masood Azhar has been listed as a global terrorist, we had discussed that this doesn't make much of a difference to Pakistan, primarily because Pakistan is habitual of not taking action. Even Hafiz Saeed of Lashkar-e-Taiba, against him also Pakistan has taken no action. So what the way ahead is that India should put sustained pressure on Pakistan to finally crack down on Masood Azhar is what has been discussed. Also, if India has good relations with China, then India could ask China or use China, or for that matter nudge China, to ensure that China puts pressure on Pakistan to bringing to book these kind of terrorists. So that is what is the entire analysis of this particular article. it is good if you have some basic idea, but I am doubting a direct question in this context. So that's about this particular article, and that's about our discussion today. I thank you all for watching the video.